The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days, the kind of soft, persistent drizzle that blurred the edges of the city and made everything feel like a dream you couldn't quite wake from. Thomas Mercer stood motionless in the hallway of his townhouse in the Queen and neighborhood, still holding his keys, listening. There it was again. That strange, muted laughter. His wife's laughter. Julia's. Except, not the way she usually laughed. This one was lower, softer, as if she were trying not to be heard. She was in the living room. The glow of her phone lit the wall in flickering pulses. Thomas set down his briefcase as quietly as he could, straining to make out the words. He caught fragments, gentle, playful, intimate. Then suddenly, the light disappeared. The house fell silent again. Thomas waited. He told himself he was being paranoid, that he'd been working too many late shifts at the software firm in South Lake Union, that the two of them had simply grown apart lately because life was busy. But deep in his gut, like a cold tide pulling at his stomach, he knew something was off. He wiped his wet hair with the sleeve of his jacket and walked toward the living room. Julia was sitting upright on the couch, her expression perfectly neutral, her phone lying face down on the coffee table. A candle flickered beside her, filling the room with the warm scent of sandalwood. "Hey," she said casually. "You're home early." Thomas felt something tighten in his chest. "I thought you had plans tonight," she continued, tucking a strand of her dark auburn hair behind her ear. "The deployment meeting got cancelled," he murmured. "Who were you talking to?" She blinked once, just once, but he noticed. "Oh, it was just a friend from the gallery." No name. No details. No smile. Just a wall. Julia was a curator at a small contemporary art gallery in Capitol Hill, the kind that held wine and cheese openings for abstract sculptures and rain-washed canvases. She'd always loved art, always been expressive, bright, warm. But for the past few months, she'd been an echo of her old self, distracted, distant, slipping away from him little by little. Thomas forced a smile. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Of course," she replied. Why wouldn't it be? He couldn't answer. Because he didn't know yet. But something inside him whispered. "You'll know soon enough." The rain hit the windows harder. And the silence grew heavier. Life continued, but nothing felt real. Julia left earlier for work. Came home later. Sometimes didn't come home at all until midnight, claiming she stayed to help an artist or prep an exhibit. Thomas wasn't the jealous type. He never had been. Their 10-year marriage had weathered arguments, financial stress, even a short period of infertility treatments that nearly broke them both emotionally. But this was different. Now she was avoiding him. He started noticing little things. She always kept her phone on silent. She changed her passcode. She bought new lingerie and hid the receipts. She spent more time going for walks alone, often near Lake Union. One evening, while she was showering, her phone buzzed on the counter. Thomas didn't move, didn't touch it, but a notification flashed across the top before fading. Unknown number, can't stop thinking about last night. He felt like his lungs had collapsed. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the closed bathroom door as the shower ran, steam curling from beneath it like ghostly fingers. When Julia stepped out, towel wrapped around her hair, she froze for less than a second when she saw him. Just 1 second. But it was enough. Thomas spoke quietly. "Who's messaging you?" She didn't answer at first. Then. "Thomas, can we not do this right now?" "That's not an answer. It's complicated." Complicated. A knife in the ribs would have hurt less. She backed away, grabbing her clothes, refusing to look him in the eyes. "Let me get dressed," she whispered. And she walked out of the room, leaving him alone with the wet drip of water on the hardwood floor and a buzzing emptiness in his chest. Thomas needed to know the truth. Not guesses. Not suspicions. Not shadows. Truth. So one rainy Thursday evening, he left work early and drove to the gallery. He parked a block away and waited, watching as people filtered out after an exhibit reception. Julia's shift was supposed to end at 6 o'clock. By 7:10, she still hadn't come out. At 7:23, Thomas saw her. Laughing. Laughing the way she used to laugh with him. Walking beside a man. Tall. Athletic. Handsome in an effortless, Northwest casual sort of way, beard, denim jacket, warm eyes. The kind of guy who looked like he hiked mountains for fun and drank craft beer from breweries with unpronounceable names. Thomas's body went rigid. They were standing close, too close. Then the man touched her elbow. Just a touch. But intimacy isn't measured by intensity. It's measured by familiarity. And this was familiar. Julia didn't pull away. Thomas stayed in the car until they disappeared down the street, his fingers gripping the steering wheel so hard he thought he might break it. That night, he barely slept. The name, unknown number, haunted him. The next morning, Thomas tried to talk. Julia was sipping coffee at the kitchen island, scrolling her phone. "We need to talk," Thomas said, voice steady but cold. She didn't look up. "If this is about last night, I told you. We were just grabbing a drink." "We." She paused. The refrigerator hummed in the silence. Finally she whispered. "I'm not doing this right now. So you're admitting something is happening." She slammed her coffee cup down, ceramic cracking against the granite. "I am not admitting anything. But something is happening." She looked at him then, really looked at him, for the first time in weeks. Her eyes glistened, but not with tenderness. With fear. "Thomas," she said shakily, "please. I just need space." He felt something deep inside him crumble. "Space," he echoed. But she walked past him, grabbed her coat, and left the house without another word. Thomas had never imagined himself as someone who would follow their spouse. But heartbreak turns even the most stable people into strangers to themselves. The next day, he drove behind her as she left home. Julia took a route she never took before, south instead of north. Toward Pioneer Square. Toward unknown streets. She parked in front of an old brick building. He watched as she approached the entrance. He watched as the door opened from the inside. And the man from the gallery stepped out. The same man. He hugged her. Not a friendly hug. Not a goodbye hug. Not a, "we worked late" hug. A lover's hug. Thomas stopped breathing. Julia rested her head on the man's chest. His hands slid around her waist. They stood like that, two silhouettes against the rain, for what felt like forever. Thomas felt something inside him break open. A quiet, devastating shatter. He didn't confront them. Not yet. He drove away, tears blurring the skyline of Seattle into nothing but streaks of light and grief. That evening, Julia came home humming softly, almost glowing. Thomas sat on the couch, hands clasped tightly. "Julia," he began. She froze. "I saw you today," he said quietly. "With him." Silence. A long, rainy silence. Finally, her shoulders fell. She didn't deny it this time. She simply whispered. "I'm sorry." 2 words. Small. Insufficient. Cruel in their simplicity. "Who is he?" Thomas asked. She hesitated. "His name is Michael. He's one of the artists at the gallery. We, connected." Connected. As if infidelity were an artsy collaboration. "For how long?" 3 months, she whispered. Thomas inhaled sharply, like he'd been punched. "Why?" he managed to ask. Julia sat down on the opposite end of the couch, as far from him as possible. I felt lonely, she said. You were so busy with work. You were exhausted all the time. I just slipped. Slipped. Like tripping on a rug. Did you love him? Thomas asked. She looked away. Which was answer enough. He stood up. I want you to leave. She raised her head sharply. Thomas. I said leave. Her eyes filled with tears. Please, we can talk, we can. No, he said, voice breaking. You made your choice. She gathered her things through quiet sobs, the sound of zippers and drawers opening echoing through the house like funeral bells. The door shut behind her. And Thomas sank to the floor, head in his hands, as the storm inside him finally broke open. The house felt wrong without her. Too quiet. Too clean. Too empty. He found reminders of her everywhere. A strand of hair on the pillow. A scarf on the banister. A half-used bottle of lavender shampoo in the shower. Days blurred. Thomas went to work but didn't remember driving there. He worked but didn't remember typing. He came home but didn't remember unlocking the door. He was a ghost in his own life. One night, he found himself scrolling through old photos of them. Christmas in Portland. A weekend in Vancouver. A trip to Pike Place back when they were still inseparable, laughing over cheap coffee and donuts. He realized he didn't recognize the people in those pictures anymore. 2 weeks after she left, Julia called. Thomas almost didn't answer. But he did. Hi, she whispered. Her voice was shaky. What do you want? He asked flatly. Can we meet? Please. I need to talk to you. He considered saying no. He considered hanging up. But closure is a strange thing, it pulls you toward the person who broke you. Fine, he muttered. Where? The pier. By Elliott Bay. Of course. The place where they had their first date. As if nostalgia could mend a shattered heart. The pier was cold and windy, the waves crashing like restless thoughts. Thomas waited under a lamppost, watching seagulls wheel over the dark water. Julia arrived wearing the jacket he bought her 2 Christmases ago. Thank you for coming, she whispered. What is it? He asked. She took a shaky breath. I ended things with him. Thomas felt a flicker of something, relief. Hope. He didn't know. I realized it was a mistake, she continued. I want to fix this. I want us back. He looked at her. Really looked at her. She seemed sincere. But something felt off. Why now? He asked. Tears slid down her cheeks. I miss you. Before he could respond, a voice cut through the wind. Julia. Thomas turned. Michael was running toward them. Wait, Julia gasped. No, please. Michael reached them, breathless, eyes wild. What are you doing? Why didn't you answer my messages? He demanded. Thomas's stomach twisted. Julia stepped back, panicked. Michael, stop. You said you loved me. Michael yelled. Everything froze. The seagulls. The waves. The wind. All of it stopped. Thomas felt numb. Julia's face crumpled. Thomas, it's not. It's exactly what it looks like, he whispered. And he walked away. She didn't follow. Michael didn't stop him. The cold wind off Elliott Bay swallowed everything. The next morning, Thomas called a divorce attorney. He felt nothing. Just a hollow ache. The process was brutal, papers, signatures, dividing belongings, selling the house. Julia cried through every meeting. Thomas didn't cry once. On the final day, when the judge confirmed the dissolution of their marriage, Julia whispered. I never thought I'd lose you. He didn't answer. She already had. Thomas wasn't a vengeful man. But betrayal changes people. He didn't vandalize anything. He didn't scream at her. He didn't ruin her reputation. His revenge was simple. He healed without her. He rebuilt his life. He went back to running along Alki Beach. He reconnected with friends he'd neglected. He finally took that trip to Colorado he always wanted. And slowly, the fog that had suffocated him began to lift. He heard from a mutual friend that Julia and Michael didn't last. Apparently Michael grew jealous, obsessive, erratic. Thomas didn't feel satisfaction. He felt closure. Months later, on a warm summer evening, Thomas stood at Cary Park overlooking the city, the Space Needle glowing gold against the deep blue sky, the ferries gliding across the bay like silent ghosts. He breathed in the cool air. For the first time in a long time, he felt at peace. He wasn't whole yet, not completely. But he was healing. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. For a split second, his heart clenched. But when he opened it, the message wasn't from her. It was from a coworker. A simple invitation for coffee. Friendly, warm, uncomplicated. Thomas smiled. He typed back. Sure. I'd like that. As he walked away from the overlook, he didn't look back. The past was behind him. And for the first time, the future didn't scare him. It felt open. Possible. New.